Have you ever looked at your cat lounging majestically on the couch and wondered if maybe they have the blood of a wild leopard or a rare Norwegian forest cat running through their veins? Or perhaps you simply rescued them off the street and you're trying to figure out why they have such a strange tail or an unusual personality. Today, we're diving into a topic that absolutely blows pet owners' minds: DNA tests. Yes, these tests aren't just for people trying to find that long-lost third cousin in Italy. But here's the big question. Are these tests a real scientific tool that could potentially save your furry friend's life? Or are they just an expensive gimmick and a total waste of money? Spoiler alert, the answer might seriously surprise you and maybe even freak some of you out. Get ready, because we are diving deep down the rabbit hole of feline genetics. Before we start dissecting these feline secrets, let's establish some context. Just a decade ago, genetic testing for pets seemed like science fiction, or maybe something only used by professional breeders obsessed with maintaining the purity of their bloodlines. It all started with dogs. Canine DNA tests became a massive hit because dog breeds are visually extremely distinct. You can easily tell a Dachshund from a Great Dane. With cats, it's much trickier. The vast majority of cats, even our most beloved house pets, don't belong to any specific breed. They are the common domestic cats, often called moggies or domestic shorthairs. For a long time, the science behind feline genetics lagged behind. But now, giants like Basepaws and Wisdom Panel have hit the market, promising to tell you everything about your purring companion, from their predisposition to kidney disease, to why exactly they insist on sleeping right on your head. But how exactly does this really work? Let's start by walking through the mechanics of the process, because a lot of people picture this as some complicated medical procedure. In reality, you don't need to be a surgeon or put the animal through any stress. This is all done at home. You receive a neat little box in the mail. Inside, you'll find the instructions and a specialised swab. It looks a lot like a mascara wand or maybe a large cotton bud. Your job is simply to get the swab into your cat's mouth and gently rub the inside of their cheek. Now that sounds easy enough, but if your cat isn't feeling cooperative, that 5-second task can quickly turn into an epic wrestling match. The goal here is to collect the buccal epithelial cells. Those are the cells from the inner lining of the mouth. This is where all the necessary DNA is stored. Crucially, there's no blood and no needles involved. Next, you seal the sample inside a tube containing a special preservative solution and mail it straight back to the lab. Once it arrives, technicians extract the DNA from those cells, fragment it, and run it through a sequencer. Think of the sequencer as a sophisticated machine designed to read the genetic code. But what happens with all that raw genetic data next? That's where things really get interesting. Now here's a crucial point that often shatters the expectations of many pet owners. You need to understand the fundamental difference between dogs and cats. For millennia, humans bred dogs for specific tasks: guarding, herding, and hunting. That's why dog breeds are genetically very distinct from one another. The story is completely different with cats. Cats, by and large, domesticated themselves. They simply showed up at our barns to hunt mice. Feline selection, the creation of specific breeds, began very recently, historically speaking. We're talking about yesterday, the 19th century. This means the genetic diversity between cat breeds is highly blurred. If a DNA test says your standard house cat is 10% Maine Coon, it doesn't mean her grandmother was secretly consorting with a giant purebred. It means your cat and the Maine Coon breed simply share distant common ancestors who lived in the same region. It's not a purebred identity, it's a genetic echo. And understanding this is critically important so you don't feel misled. Let's dive deep into the topic of breeds. When you get that report, you'll see some attractive charts and graphs. Typically, they divide your cat's genome into 4 major groups. The first is the Western group. This includes breeds originating from Europe and the Americas, such as the American Shorthair, Maine Coons, and Ragdolls. The second is the Eastern group, which covers elegant cats like the Siamese, Burmese, and Orientals. The third is the hybrid group, which consists of much rarer breeds. And the fourth is the polycat, or simply the domestic mixed breed, essentially the ultimate alley cat. Most of our beloved house cats will fall squarely into the polycat category, usually with a blend of the Western group. The test won't tell you your cat is a British Shorthair. Instead, it says your cat's genome is most similar to the genomes of the cats that were used to establish the British breed. Do you feel the difference? It's like saying you look like a Viking because you have light eyes, rather than saying you are a Viking because you were born in Oslo. While breed identification is mostly just for fun, the next section is truly what you should be spending your money on: health. This is arguably the most valuable part of the entire report. Genetic diseases are insidious because they can lie dormant for years. Your pet might look perfectly healthy, running and playing, but then suddenly they become severely ill, and the vets are left completely baffled. The DNA test screens your animal for dozens of genetic mutations linked to specific diseases. This isn't a diagnosis, it's a map of a genetic minefield. If you know where a landmine is buried, you can successfully navigate around it. For instance, knowing about a predisposition means you can immediately adjust their diet, schedule more frequent ultrasounds, or simply be more vigilant about certain symptoms. This shifts you from reacting to a problem to engaging in true proactive prevention. And trust me, treating an advanced genetic illness costs infinitely more than a single test that costs just over $100. Let's look at a concrete example that affects a large number of cats: polycystic kidney disease, commonly known as PKD. This is a serious, often devastating genetic condition typically seen in breeds like Persians, exotics, British Shorthairs, and Scottish Folds. Essentially, fluid-filled cysts form in the kidneys. These cysts grow, displacing healthy tissue, and eventually the kidneys simply fail. The terrible thing is that symptoms usually only appear when the kidneys have already lost about 70% of their function. A DNA test can identify the PKD1 gene mutation, even in a young kitten. If the test is positive, it's not a death sentence, but it is a critical warning signal. You'll know that this cat needs regular kidney ultrasounds and potentially requires special dietary management starting from an early age. You are buying time. And when dealing with renal failure, that time translates into years of quality life for your beloved pet. Next up is another silent killer: hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, or HCM. It is the most common heart disease in cats. The heart walls thicken, the chambers shrink, and the muscle is constantly overworked. Often, the first and only symptom of this illness is sudden death. The cat simply collapses and dies. While this sounds horrific, it is the reality. Maine Coons and Ragdolls are particularly susceptible. Fortunately, there are tests available for specific mutations in the MYBPC3 gene. Being a carrier doesn't guarantee the disease, but the risk is immense. Armed with this knowledge, you don't wait until your cat struggles to breathe to visit the cardiologist. You schedule routine checkups every 6 months, and that commitment saves lives. Now for a critical warning, something that could potentially kill your cat right at the vet's office if the doctor isn't aware of this specific issue. We are talking about the MDR1 gene mutation. This gene is responsible for maintaining the blood-brain barrier, the brain's natural defense system against toxins and medications. Cats with a defect in this gene lack this crucial protection, leaving their brain defenseless against several absolutely standard veterinary drugs. For example, certain antiparasitic treatments or even common diarrhea medications can trigger severe poisoning, coma, and even death in carriers of this mutation. Imagine you simply wanted to treat a few worms and you end up with a tragedy. A DNA test can reveal the status of this gene. If the mutation is detected, those results must be prominently flagged with a red marker and attached to the first page inside your cat's medical passport. This serves as an essential safety instruction for any veterinarian who treats your cat. Let's move on to something less frightening, but definitely no less important: blood type. You probably haven't given it much thought, but cats have blood types too: A, B, and the very rare AB. Knowing this is critically important if you plan on breeding. This is primarily due to a condition called neonatal isoerythrolysis, NI. It sounds complicated, but the core mechanism is simple. If the mother cat has type B blood and the kittens inherit type A, they absorb antibodies through the colostrum that destroy their own red blood cells. These kittens often die within the first few days of life, and frequently, owners never truly understand the cause. Fortunately, a DNA test can determine the blood type beforehand, allowing breeders to avoid incompatible pairings. And of course, in an emergency blood transfusion situation, knowing the exact type can save precious minutes when trying to find a compatible donor. Let's take a quick breath and talk about something beautiful. Cat coat genetics is truly fascinating, almost like magic. Why is your cat ginger? Why does he have white socks? A genetic test breaks down your cat's appearance into specific genes. Take, for example, the dilution gene. If a cat carries this gene, black turns into blue or grey, and red turns into cream. You can even find out if your cat is a carrier of chocolate or cinnamon colouring, even if they look completely black on the surface. This is especially interesting if you have a mixed breed cat with an unusual sheen or colouring to their coat. The test will explain exactly where that shade came from. You'll finally understand that your pet's coat colour isn't a random accident. It's a complicated puzzle that ultimately fit together in the only way possible. And what about coat length? Have you ever seen a short-haired cat give birth to a litter of super fluffy kittens? This happens because the long hair gene is recessive, meaning it can effectively hide. A cat might be a carrier of this gene, while outwardly sporting a short coat herself. A DNA test reveals the presence of this hidden factor. In the report, you will look for the marker FGF5. The results will tell you whether your cat is homozygous for short hair, or if she secretly carries the potential to produce those little balls of fluff. These same tests can also identify genes responsible for unique traits, such as the curled coat seen in breeds like the Cornish Rex, or the hairlessness of the Sphinx. Ultimately, this allows you to truly unlock the hidden genetic potential of your animal. Coat patterns are a fascinating subject all on their own. Did you know that, genetically speaking, every cat is actually a tabby? That means they are all inherently striped. Many solid-coloured cats simply carry a gene that masks this underlying tabby pattern. If you ever look closely at a black cat in bright sunlight, you can often spot these ghostly stripes, or spots faintly showing through. Genetic testing can reveal exactly which pattern is encoded in your cat's DNA, whether it's the sleek mackerel tabby, the swirl of the classic tabby, or marbled, the spotted tabby, or the subtle tick pattern, like you see on Abyssinians. The test also identifies the presence of the colour point gene. This is the characteristic pattern found in Siamese cats, where the extremities, the ears, paws, and tail are dark, but the body remains light. What's surprising is just how many common domestic cats carry this Siamese gene hidden deep within their lineage. Another interesting category covers physical traits. Take polydactyly, for instance. This is when a cat has more toes than they normally should. This is exactly what the famous Hemingway cats are known for. It usually looks quite endearing, almost like the cat is wearing little mittens. A DNA test can confirm the genetic nature of this trait. Testing for short tails is also part of the process. If your cat has a short tail or a noticeable kink in it, it might be an old injury from kittenhood, or it could be purely genetic, like in bobtail breeds. Finding this out means you can stop endlessly wondering if their tail was accidentally slammed in a door years ago. Ultimately, this helps you better understand your pet's anatomy and removes any unnecessary questions about their origins. Now let's talk about the wild side. Some companies now offer what they call a wildness index. This involves searching for DNA markers that match the genomes of specific wild cats, such as the leopard cat, the serval, or the jungle cat. This is particularly relevant for owners of hybrid breeds such as Bengals or Savannahs. If you were sold a kitten as a Bengal, but it acts more like a lazy lump of fluff, the test can reveal the actual percentage of wild DNA in its lineage. For your average house cat, it's mostly just a fun piece of trivia that lets you tell guests, check it out, according to the paperwork, he's 2% tiger. While there's little practical use, it definitely gives the owner a nice ego boost. But let's return to the practical applications. Some modern veterinary tests have gone even further. They analyze the oral microbiome. You heard that right. They are studying the specific bacteria living inside your cat's mouth. Why? Because the health of their teeth and gums directly impacts major organs, including the kidneys and the heart. Diseased teeth act as a gateway for infection, allowing bacteria to spread throughout the entire body. Microbiome analysis can predict whether your cat is at risk for developing serious issues like periodontitis or tooth resorption, often long before you notice bad breath or visible tartar buildup. This is a highly advanced approach to preventive medicine, and it's available right now, requiring nothing more than a simple cheek swab. A social network for cats. Sounds ridiculous, right? But believe it or not, it's totally real. Massive DNA databases now allow you to find your pet's relatives. It works exactly the same way as human DNA matching sites, like 23andMe. The system compares your cat's DNA to thousands of others in the database, and it might pop up a message saying, "We found your cat's cousin, and they live in the next town over." This is incredibly moving, especially if you adopted your kitten from a shelter and know absolutely nothing about their background. People are actually finding their cat's litter mates, connecting with the owners, swapping photos, and comparing quirks. It turns out that a bizarre love for olives or a deep-seated fear of the vacuum cleaner might actually be a family trait. Now for the catch. Let's talk accuracy. It's crucial to remember that genetic testing is a probabilistic science, and errors do occur. Sometimes the results seem downright bizarre, like finding the genes of a fluffy Siberian in a hairless sphinx. This happens because our reference databases are still growing. The more cats we test, the more accurate the algorithms become. If a result looks completely nonsensical, don't immediately jump to accusing the lab of fraud. It usually means your cat has a truly unique gene combination that isn't yet well represented in the data pool. And remember this key point. The presence of a disease gene indicates a risk, not a diagnosis. Conversely, the absence of a known gene is not a guarantee of perfect health, as science continues to discover new mutations every day. The price tag. A full test typically runs between $100 and $150, plus shipping if you happen to live outside the lab's country of operation. So, is it worth the investment? If you look at this as just a novelty, a one-time entertainment used primarily to get a chuckle out of the breed chart, then yes, it's probably too expensive. But if you approach it as an investment in health, the math changes entirely. A single emergency vet visit for a pet experiencing heart or kidney failure can cost you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. If this test helps you prevent or delay a serious illness by even just 1 year, it pays for itself 10 times over. Essentially, it's your insurance policy against the unknown. Practical tips for taking the sample. Most cats absolutely hate having anything put near or inside their mouths. Here's a critical tip. Don't swab immediately after they eat. If you do, you'll end up sending the lab chicken or beef DNA instead of your cat's. Wait at least an hour to an hour and a half. Next, create the classic cat burrito. Swaddle your cat tightly in a towel, making sure to secure their paws so they can't scratch. Act confidently but gently. You need to rub the inside of their cheek for about 10 to 15 seconds. If your cat starts struggling severely, take a break. It is far better to do several short, calm attempts than to scare the animal into a total meltdown in one go. And always give them a generous treat afterward. Your cat needs to remember that their humiliation was properly compensated. So, who should you pick? The market is dominated by 2 big players right now, Basepaws and Wisdom Panel. Wisdom Panel is definitely old school. They are absolute giants in the dog DNA testing space. Their databases are massive and they are known for exceptional accuracy in breed determination. Basepaws, on the other hand, focuses exclusively on cats. They have an enormous database dedicated solely to feline genetics and provide incredibly detailed reports covering health and dental issues. Of course, there are smaller labs out there, often university-affiliated, but they typically require blood samples and only screen for specific diseases. You won't get those neat, decorative lineage charts. For casual home use and getting that detailed, attractive report, stick with one of the big two. Finally, let's consider privacy. Yes, your cat's data does go into the cloud. Companies utilize this information for scientific research. This is crucial for discovering new genes and developing life-saving medications. Essentially, by testing your cat, you become a citizen scientist, directly contributing to the future of veterinary medicine. It's entirely possible that your cat's DNA, the data from your mittens, could help researchers find a cure for feline cancer or diabetes in the next decade. I know this sounds dramatic, but that is the power of big data. You aren't just learning that your cat is an orange tabby. You are helping every orange cat in the world live a longer, healthier life. So, what's the bottom line here? A cat DNA test isn't a magic wand, and it certainly won't turn your average stray into a purebred prince. It is, however, a powerful diagnostic tool, and let's be honest, it's pretty great entertainment for the owner. The most surprising thing you might uncover isn't their exact breed composition. It's the hidden health risks your cat can't tell you about. Knowing about an MDR1 mutation or a predisposition to heart disease can genuinely save their life. And that alone makes every single penny spent completely worth it. Love your furry friends regardless of their genetic code, because real love doesn't require a DNA test. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you've already had a DNA test done for your pet, let me know in the comments. Did the results match your expectations, or was it a total surprise? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and I'll see you in the next video.